Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and we're continuing on with our look back at the 1978 Battlestar Galactica, the original television series, before the reboot, of course. And we've come to a double episode, which is the gun on Ice Planet Zero, and we find that our surviving humans are being shepherded into a particular region in space, where on a icy planet uh, there is a garrison of the of Cylons, and they have a pulsar weapon which is very devastating in its power, and it can shoot spaceships that are much farther distance away. It's very odd that they actually have this kind of a situation. The storyline doesn't actually make sense, because why would the fleet actually have to make it to this planet, and the reach that they can actually destroy the planet? There should be ways for them to get around that particular area and that avoid that particular planet, but you have to suspend your belief at certain points. So Adama sends out a group of shuttle pilots, Viper pilots, and unfortunately, while they check out the planet, one of them is destroyed by the pulsar weapon. He and his Viper is destroyed, and another one, Cadet Kree, is captured because in his enthusiasm to actually try and investigate, he gets his ship gets partially damaged, and he has to crash land on the snow. So he is captured by the Cylons, and they take him away for interrogation. Now Starbuck feels very responsible for this guy, because he knows that he was very enthusiastic, and being pretty young, and Starbuck feels that he should have somehow or the other rescued him or protected him. So now the only other way that they can get across is they need to somehow go and find a way to destroy the pulsar weapon on the ground. So Adama has a team of warriors, and also includes 4 criminals from the prison barge who are experts at detonation, and having worked in harsh climates of the Arctic snow and ice. So he chooses the warriors who have had some experience, but Starbuck, feeling responsible, although he hasn't had any experience working in icy snowy conditions, he manipulates the data to make sure that he is at the top of the list. Even though Boma asks him, like, I know you don't have the experience, but he feels there's something he has to do. Unfortunately for them, Boxy sneaks into their shuttle, and because he has never seen snow, and so he also says that Muffet, his robotic Daggett, has also never seen snow before, and so therefore he sneaks in without the knowledge of Apollo. And unfortunately, they find out only after they crash land onto the planet, having been attacked by a group of Cylon raiders. They're stuck in the snow. A couple of their people are injured, and then they try to make it on the Land Cruiser, but however, they have forced to abandon it, and they are they fall unconscious on the snow. They are rescued by a group of humanoids who initially they think are humans, but are actually clones. Basically, they're Theta class clones, life forms they're called, and they're basically all clones. And this is probably where the reboot Battlestar Galactica got the ideas for all these the Cylon clones, is what I'm guessing. They are created by an absent-minded scientist known as Professor Ravachol, who incidentally is also the inventor of the pulsar weapon. Now he's kind of absent-minded, although he is under the control of the Cylons. He doesn't believe that they will use it for, which is an odd thing to say. But he is the kind of scientist who creates something and then loses interest in it, and then goes on to the next project. So a similar case is the Theta class life forms that he created. They are almost human-like, and he has completely abandoned them. Not with a malicious intent, but at the same time, he doesn't really know what's happening with them. And one of the Theta class life forms who has multiple clones is played by Britt Eklund, which is very surprising. She's an amazing, beautiful actress from yesteryear. So they find themselves rescued by these Theta class life forms, and they're kind of like pacifist, and they also give off a kind of Scandinavian vibe. and maybe it's because of the characters I'm sorry, the actors who are actually playing them. One of the criminals who is along with the crew selected to for his skills in this particular mission is named Wolf, and he's played by Richard Lynch. For Battlestar Galactica fans, if you remember, Richard Lynch goes on to play the main antagonist in the short-lived Galactica 1980, which is a sequel to Battlestar Galactica, the 1978 series. So that's actually and Richard Lynch is the kind of actor who I guess mainly because of his looks, he has tended to be cast mainly as villainous and anti-hero roles. But yeah, it was kind of nice to see him in an early show. Like I said, I've seen this show. I hadn't seen all the episodes until like maybe 2010, 2011. So I actually missed out this particular episode. So I was really surprised to see him having had a role in the parent television series before his more prominent role on Galactica 1980. And that was a nice thing to see. I've seen him in a few television movies, TV movies, and a couple of movies here and there. So he's an actor who again, been a big part of my big part of my childhood. Excuse me while I drink some water. So the first episode actually ends with a kind of a cliffhanger almost literally, because they're at a crevice and they're hiding from the Cylons, and there's a patrol of Cylons passing by. And one of them, the very last one, actually thinks he hears something, and he looks in different direction, but it doesn't look straight down, or he could have seen the Theta class life forms and the humans. In the second episode, they go and in the second part, they actually go and meet with Dr. Ravachol. And this is these funniest things, which I find it kind of odd, because he isn't aware that Cylons are using the pulsar weapon for killing humans, and he actually dismisses the claims of Apollo when he says that I need to find a way to destroy it, and he doesn't believe it. And I was thinking, like, how completely into yourself you must be if you don't really know that your creation is used for these destructive purposes. I mean, what do you think that the Cylons were going to use it for anyway? So again, but he gives out the air of being a really absent-minded scientist who doesn't want to have anything else done. It doesn't want to be disturbed, while he's doing his work, and he just wants to be left alone. And the Cylons kind of leave him alone for the most part, so he can conduct his experiments in peace. I don't know exactly. They don't really go into how he happened to be working with the Cylons. It just happens. They don't really go that far into it. So. And then he also, Apollo is able to tell him that there happens to be children in the camp where all the Theta class life forms are, and Ravachol tells him it's impossible. I made them sterile. They're not supposed to be able to breed. Unfortunately, life always finds a way, and these Theta class life forms have become extremely human-like, that they've also been able to breed and have kids. So this is something that comes up as a huge surprise to Dr. Ravachol. And that was I did like that part, but the fact is the main thing that I could not digest is one, the threat of the gun on the planet, as well as Dr. Ravachol, who is that completely absent-minded that he doesn't even realize, and it takes Apollo to actually beat some sense into him, well, figuratively and not literally. Anyhow, they managed to destroy the gun with the help of the Theta class life forms. They offer to take these Theta class life forms and Dr. Ravachol to safety. However, he says he's got things under control, and that he and the Theta class life forms will be able to take care of the Cylons if and when they do come back. Again, another set of humans that are left behind. This series has got several of them. So I'm just trying to look at some of the notes that has actually been said here. And this episode was actually filmed before the long patrol, so there are some things that actually may see. In fact, the episodes are actually not shot exactly in that chronological order, and it's kind of surprising that they actually do that. I'm just trying to look at any other information that I missed out. Oh yeah, Wolf is actually lost, trying to escape, and we assume that he meets his fate and dies out in the cold environment of the snow, snow and ice. So yeah, that's basically it. This is the two-parter episode, The Gun on Ice Planet Zero, and it's a pretty exciting, mostly action-led. There's a lot of things that goes on in this particular episode, and I mean, I'm always really excited to watch this particular double episode. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty action-packed, a lot of things happening, and it's almost like a mini movie in such, because you've got this this dangerous mission on which they actually have to go. They do manage to rescue Kree and take him back to the Galactica, but I do find it odd that they, again, more humans. I know they are Theta class life forms, but the fact that they are being left behind, and what if the Cylons do decide to attack the village where the clones are all living, along with Dr. Ravishol. So, but maybe Ravishol now will have more of an upper hand, because now he knows exactly what his creations are capable of, and his eyes have been opened. So, that's it about The Gun from Ice Planet Zero. I'm Roshan, and I hope you have a very good night. Thank you.